Yeah. Yeah. Most moto.
There we go. So, we're here. Wenger.
Winger. Close.
Winger.
Yeah.
Winger?
It's like a bird's wing.
Winger. Well, look, this good thing is this stuff is edited.
Oh, no,
it's all about the, it's a good thing about
you're
blooper stuff too.
No, you're fine.
The B-roll
That's
stuff,
solid.
right? So, but look, so Jeremy Wenger.
Not Wiener. G's not silent.
Jeremy Wenger.
I'm not even telling my middle name.
Yeah, what's your middle name?
Not gonna tell you.
What is it?
Not on here. No.
Okay, good. Well, look, we're here with Jeremy Wenger. Welcome to Most Moto, Mindset of Successful Thinking. Moto is short for motivation. I'm all about using the tools that you have. Mm-hmm. We're using a cell phone. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes we always think we need to get this big old camera, do a lot of different things. We got some lighting, we got cell phones, boom, we're ready to go.
Right.
So, Jeremy Wenger, welcome to Most Moto.
Well, thanks,
this is
man.
the Moto Moment Wednesdays interview. Well, this may actually go out, not on Wednesday, it may go out any day we put it out. Sure. But the good thing is, so look, remember the mindset of successful thinking. The mindset of successful thinking is having an unwavering expectation of successfully achieving a predetermined goal, knowing that the outcome was supposed to happen. Look, we're all about changing lives. I believe that everyone has a story, right? We all, like our fingerprints, are different.
Right.
You may not know what someone else is going through in their life. Yeah. So it's oftentimes important that you don't judge, period, because you never know what the individual's going through. So I met Jeremy on Facebook. He sent a friend request and I just responded back and said, hey, we need to meet. I went back and I did some little Facebook stalking and said, you know what, that guy's story, I want to actually make sure it's shared on the Most Moto platform. So what is Most Moto? People may ask. Most Moto is a positive environment, a positive community of individuals that want to inspire and edify other people to be better than they were 5 minutes ago, to be better than they were in the past, and to just know that we got to take care of today as it's called today. Right. Tomorrow we can't worry about. Right. So after I heard you on the phone and we're talking, your charisma gets you contagious. One of your taglines says, contagious speaker. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So what I want to do today is really just talk about your story. Yeah. Because it's going to be people that's going to hear this story and their life can be transformed just like that. Because it transformed my life. Yeah, even though I didn't go through the same thing. What you went through, it impacted me. With the suicidal things. Like your tagline said, 10 years of suicidal for 10 years? 10 suicidal free? What is it?
10 years running, 10 years free of suicide.
Look at that. So, and just to be able to get to that point to admit and talk about that takes a lot. So, tell us a little bit about you, Jeremy.
Yeah, dude. Well,
Jeremy Wenger.
Hey.
Tell us about you, man. Tell us about you.
Well, the biggest thing was born and raised in Alabama, and parents. It was great until I'm oldest of 3 kids, and my sister's 5 years younger than me. My older brother's 10 years younger than me. So kind of being like the kind of like the protector over all of them. And so when my parents divorced when I was 10 years old. I was really sideswiped. I was just caught off guard. Didn't know really what to do. And then I, over the following years, went through every form of child abuse except sexual abuse. I was addicted to over 10 combinations of drugs. And
how old were you going through 10 combinations of drugs?
It was where I was from 10 years old to 16 years old. For those following 6 years. And my dad owned a tree company for 18 years. And that's where behind the scenes, I saw the drugs, the guns, the women that were coming through the parties and stuff. And my dad, it was one of those ugly divorces where my dad flipped me against my mom. Oh, okay. And it was there. She saw that and kicked me out of the house to go learn character, to go work with the tree company that he had. And so went out there 12 years old and started doing grunt work, all the other things that I didn't want to do. And then I realized and witnessed on the job site that I saw my dad and the employees both arguing, and I'm like, 45 years old, ish, and I'm thinking,
not you, your dad.
No, yeah, no. Okay. The employees. I'm thinking about the employees as they're arguing. Right. I'm like, these guys are like 45 years old, and I already see they're saying the same thing. And next thing I know, I'm like, I leverage my position because they're all nice to me. And I'm just like, why are they all nice to me? Yeah. And then I just started. And one guy's like, it's because you're the boss's son. Okay. That makes sense. Everybody loves you, right? I was like, oh. He's like, they don't want to take you off. And I'm just like, oh. Right. And that's when I realized that with my dad too he didn't want to have me not inform on my mom. Yeah. So I had a point of leverage for both of those, and I started to mitigate the communication between the two of them. And I had a standpoint to where I could leverage my position and then tell them both to shut up. And so that way they could quiet themselves for a second and then regurgitate all the things that they're talking about. So I started doing HR when I was like 12 or 13 years old, but out of survival, and because I just wanted peace on the job site.
Yeah, at 13.
I just didn't know what that was. I realized I was just like, these guys are all listening to me. That's what technically it takes, like, for them to listen to you, and then now you get something through their thick heads, right?
Yeah, exactly. Stubborn guys.
Shit, blue collar, bro. Like, come on.
Got you.
And so over the following years, just going through those different kind of abuse of on the job site, being humiliated by my dad, the employees saw that, and then it came down to went to rehab, faked it till I made it. And
you said fake it till you make it rehab. Well, how old were you going to rehab?
Well, I was like 14, 15.
Hold on, you went to rehab at 14 or 15 years old?
Yeah, I was expelled.
Fake it till you make it?
Yeah, I was expelled every year from 7th, 10th grade for drugs or fighting. And
Jeremy?
Yeah, and that's the thing is like that's the miracle what happened 10 years ago last month.
So you're 24 now?
26.
26, okay.
Yeah. And so and a half.
But okay, 26 and a half. You're like 12,
right? Even though I look like I'm 14.
Yeah.
But it's
yeah.
But it was crazy because then what started to happen was I got into rehab. I really didn't understand. I just wanted to feel good. I wanted to escape from all the torment that my dad was putting me through. And I mean, he'd throw me in the bathtub and he'd start hitting me. And I'm like, I had told him I had this idea. Tell him it hurts. And then he stopped. Because it didn't hurt. I'm just like, why are you like, literally like, why are you shadow boxing? Why are you literally like, that was just one of those points. And then it started getting bad where anyways, it started.
Right, yeah.
So.
Got deep.
Yeah, where he threatened me to call the cops. And because when they leave, what happens next is between he and I.
Oh, man.
And so it's years of that pouring into it. And that's when I went to rehab, faked it till I made it, was into some really dark spiritual stuff too, and just didn't really have a grounding. And that's when I gained everyone's trust back. And I really didn't even like put two and two together. But that night I had a whole bottle of melatonin. I was just gonna see what was gonna happen.
So how old were you when you went through that?
I was 16.
So you 16 actually having the decision to do suicidal.
Right. He's like, so how it all happened was I got arrested again after faking it till I made it, gained everyone's trust back. And then it started to, when I got caught again after I relapsed, I realized like everyone turned their back on me, but I was codependent, I was depressed, I was full of rage against my dad. I didn't understand what it was like to be a man. And that's where all that shattered out from under me. And the guy that actually lived down the street from me, his name's Anthony, and I told him what was going on. I called him.
You were 16. We had the bottle of all those pills and said, I'm gonna see what happmes. You called your friend who was what, 16 as well?
No, he was like mid-20s.
Oh, he mid-20s.
Yeah, so he's like a bigger brother.
So you actually was a grown man as a teenager, as a kid.
It felt like it.
Yeah, because I mean, you grew up with you had all this expectancy. People expected a lot from you. You're 13 doing HR work. You're doing
well, it's something I kind of fell into. I wasn't
yeah.
even like, my dad even asked me, he's like, hey, why are you not doing this? And yeah, it was just like, he always told me, he says, you're only as good as your last job. And the way it sounded back in my mind was, I'm only good if I do a good job. And that resonated in my heart to where it was performance-based love. And that's where all of that shattered when I was 16, because I just got my GED, was going through the alternative school program, finally got it, a week later got arrested. And so I literally had everyone who was cheering for me, and then I made that mistake, done. Like I felt like an absolute failure. And that's when it started to take place, was that I called Anthony, I told him, I said, man, I just feel like a loser. And that's where he spoke life into me, and he said that, it's something that, I don't even remember anything he said that night, but except that I believe in you. And that's what stuck to me. And I was like, I went in my room, and I'm a Christian. I mean, I said, you know what, God, let's do this. But then that's where things started to, it's not just that, but there were disciplines that I had to start putting in place. I started to, I mend broken relationships, reach back out to people, ended up going to 7 months of rehab, and started reading different books and started to forgive myself for what happened. Until I was able to understand how I could forgive myself, I wasn't able to forgive my dad.
So it sounded like it was a point of a decision that you had to make, no matter what someone probably told you. Hey man, you need to do this, you need to stop doing that, you need to stop doing this. But like I was talking to Rob Simbeck about, he was talking about going through being sober.
Right.
You could tell someone not to do something the first time and show that you care. But after you do it enough times, it's like, okay, now you're becoming annoying.
Right.
Like, I'm not even listening to you no more. I'm numb to what you're saying. It doesn't seem like you love me no more because I know what I need to do. But it came to a point in your life you decided to, I'm gonna change it.
Yeah. Well, it was because people change because either they see the benefit of something that's greater than what they're doing, or the pain becomes unbearable. Unfortunately, they choose the latter most of the time because of the decisions that they make. You know, because sometimes you can't tell people something, and you just have to let them go do their own, go about their thing, and then they come into a dead end, and they just burn those bridges or whatever the case is. It takes time to redeem that and build that back as possible, but it takes time. And sometimes it's, why would you forfeit that time when you can? I mean, it's definitely possible, but look at the lives that are at stake for you not walking out your legacy in that area. Yeah, but I mean, we all get to that point. It's not even about doing the wrong thing until you burn out. It's more so like, okay, we're growing, and this is how much we have. The time's never. We're always in momentum because time never stops. And it's so crazy because at that moment I was like, you know what? I just made a commitment that I'm never going to give up no matter who or what comes against me.
That makes sense.
And that's where it's just like, it flat out, where I didn't really want to. I didn't want to cower back anymore. I didn't want to hold back anymore. And I wanted to make sure that no matter what I put my hand to, that I will give my 1,000,000% of it, no matter what happens.
Nice.
And
the expectation. The expectation of actually doing something great. You expect it to happen.
Yeah.
After you done
I didn't know how.
You didn't know how.
I just knew. And I just was like, you know what? We always felt like a superhero when we were a kid. You know, we want to be like Superman, or we want to be Batman, or whatever the case is. You know, it doesn't matter. Like, that's the greatness.
Or Black Panther, huh?
Right. I wasn't gonna say it. I was.
Wakanda.
Right. Never mind. I was gonna say. Do you know what I was gonna say?
Okay, got you.
But one of the craziest things is that's the greatness we're working on the inside of us. And so many people are trying to do it like other pioneers, or people who are doing it like they're designed to do it. But I took for granted forever the giftings that were inside of me. And what I started to see was that I was very gifted at bringing people together, being able to identify their gifts and facilitate an opportunity where we can exercise and work together on it, and quarterback a lot of things. And kind of like the conductor to an orchestra.
Yeah.
And over the following 2 years, after making that commitment that night, I mean, went to go back to work with my dad and overcame, first time on the job site, that what happened was with my dad, I went back on the job site, he asked me to do one of the stupidest things in the world.
What was that?
And I can't even remember what he asked me. I was standing by the dumpster, or not the dumpster, but the wood chipper grinder, and he asked me to do one of the dumbest things. It was just one of those things where you're just like, you're like, I'm not gonna do that. But I remember the employees standing like literally 30 feet off of me. And I remember the client on the job site where we were at, right behind me.
Well, what?
And the client was standing right behind us.
Got it.
And I'm on the curb, and my dad asked me to do that, and I just laughed in his face and I said, I'm not gonna do that. And my dad had one arm. I mean, dude was like your arm was in the straight up solid muscle.
Got it.
Like, I mean, because the owned tree company had one arm, dude. Like, it was ridiculous. And he lunged at me like he was gonna punch me in the face. And he got right there, and I just leaned in and I said, what? And
it's like confronting your fears.
Oh, absolutely. And that was the first point of contact of putting in personal boundaries with my dad, and it actually facilitated for us to restore our relationship.
Wow.
Before he was murdered when I was 18.
He was murdered?
Yeah. And
get out of here.
I mean, it's down in Alabama, man. It was a 6-year cold case. They finally found the guy accused for that back in 2016.
Wow. I mean, so you go through a divorce with your family, with your mom and dad. You had a wedge driven between you and your mom.
Yeah.
Right? Well, how's that relationship?
Oh, it's great. Yeah, I mean, when I made that commitment, man, the truth came out, and my dad couldn't contain his lies and all the stuff that he was trying to manufacture. You lie so much you can't keep track of it.
Yeah. So you go through that at 16, about to take a whole bottle, contemplating the point about going into suicidal thoughts and doing what you're gonna say I'm gonna do.
Oh, I was contemplating.
You contemplated for a while, but you went on to say I'm gonna do it.
That was like the straw that broke the camel's back.
And you about to called your friend who's 10 years older than you. Say, I believe in you. You decided to change your thought process then, make a commitment. But as you know, it didn't come easy though. I mean, you had to probably crawl out of some of the situations rather than, because you done it before, right? And relapse. Done it before and relapse. But you were a teenager. What do you think about what's going on with teenagers and the stress they go through now? I mean,
man, we always say it's a different world, but one of the biggest things is disengagement. People are not engaged in the moment. And that's one of the biggest things that, that's why I'm grateful to be able to have the business that I do, because I want to I want to marry the gap between mental health and artificial intelligence with the digital age, because I feel like they've combated each other, but really when used properly, they can really complement one another. And to be able to have technology where it doesn't replace social engagement, but enables in social engagement.
That's the people. So we're gonna get into your entrepreneurship idea now.
Totally.
So you got to your dad said, "I should do something you don't want to do." You said, "I'm not gonna do that." You confronted.
Oh yeah.
That point. Then you said, "Okay, I don't want to do this for my whole life." So I'm gonna go into.
Oh, that was one of millions of things over the next 2 years. Like the stuff, it was just to a point where it was where we had so many years of compromise that he was used to it, and that's where over those couple of years, those 2 years, like literally blood, sweat, and tears, it felt like a decade and of restoring that relationship, because I can't tell you how many times I cussed him out, how many he would do stuff when he he would throw me a party and kick me out of my own party so he could have women over.
No,
I'm not even kidding. And it was my GED party.
Oh,
after
man.
all that stuff happened, and I mean those are the kind of stuff that really just that really just twisted that knife.
Yeah.
But it was something that I had to grow. I mean, not grow up, but I also understand.
You had to learn.
Yeah, I had to learn and adjust and grow in that area. And over those 2 years of putting in personal boundaries, but loving myself enough to where my standards rose, my personal boundaries reflected that, and then that's where it enforced me to put in those boundaries and actually hold tight to them, because you can start that process, but people will push the limits. They will see what they can push you to do. And that's where it really started to have that community around me that really poured
That's
into
what I
me.
was going to get to
Right.
about the community, because you can't stay.
You can't do it on your own.
You got to make the decision to do it,
Absolutely.
but then you got to surround yourself with the right environment, correct? The
Absolutely.
right people that's going to help you in that process.
Absolutely.
They're going to inspire you, encourage you, edify you more and more.
That's why I hate the term self-made millionaire, is because people, I understand what people mean, but when you say self-made, it means like literally you did it by yourself. Which is completely wrong.
You did make a decision.
You did make a decision.
But you had to have those relationships around you.
But self-made means you made it self. Myself made this. And but it's different than having the commitment, but then also having the commitment that surrounds the right people around you. And that's where you have that community, the people who pour into you. I mean, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the father figures in my life. Like seriously, it was something that after my dad's murder, I mean, they had to liquidate the business, and I mean, my first equity partnership at 18 was we did $250,000 in 9 months after really revamping their branding, revamping everything that they were doing for their business systems and stuff, and it was incredible because it was where truly it was legacy driven. And it was something that was so powerful to see that the transformation happen in the business, and to be able to see it now, they're able to hand it off to their family and their children as a legacy, which is just incredible.
So when you go so tell us about, now you're doing your own thing. You're only 26 years old and a half.
But
Did you go to school? Do you have any college background at all?
Self-taught.
So there you go. So education is important to you outside of the boundaries of learning inside of a school.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
that's too hindering.
But you learn in that thing. So that's one of my main things I talk about in my book about the importance of education. The mindset of successful thinking. One way to become successful is educate yourself.
Yeah.
And educating yourself on some different things. So you did that. You said, you know what, I'm going to go into business about artificial intelligence. So now that's the next thing. We look at the movie iRobot. We look at all these things that say, ooh, I don't know if I want to do that. I can't trust a robot. But you're saying you want to bring them together, the mental state of people and artificial intelligence, to how they can merge and actually benefit each other rather than clash with each other.
Right.
Now, how would you, but don't get rid of the engagement of people. How are you going to do that?
Well, it's simple. I mean, look at business economics. When we can have the time for what matters most, that's the whole point of our business. Like, we didn't start a business to be a slave to our business. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that my dad did. And I had to reverse engineer that, because he would skip holidays. He would not go with the family. And one of the craziest things is that because he was working too hard. There's the people who can scale a business, they are methodical and they're strategic. They don't trying to have, they don't try to have as many people in their thing as possible for ego's sake, or to have people around them. Business is different than community. Your team is different than community. And so if you have an assistant, you have somebody who is, when you have a team that can help, you can delegate to your weaknesses to, and be able to have things that are on point where you're creative enough to be able to develop and grow and have everyone push to the next limit, what happens is, artificial intelligence side of it, you can literally tell it what to do and not be afraid of it leaving after you train it. You know, in other words, tell it
or
what
take
to do.
over the world, though. What about that?
Yeah, I mean, Skynet, whatever. You know? But it's all about having the systems in place, because and over the past decade of connecting with people and just walking with them and through their journey and stuff, I've seen that the number one thing, even for myself, I know that you can relate too, is that we go back to our stress because we don't have, say, simple process right there. It's all about processes, because if we are not able to engage with people right here, it's because this over here is not taken care of.
Yeah.
You have to be able to have a team in place that without even thinking that they can do that. Some people aren't at that point, but it's still, regardless of where now we can truly have something in place that is simple and that systemizes different things in our day-to-day routines that allow us the mental and the emotional bandwidth so we can pour into each other.
I like it. See, now you done bought me. I done sold me on it. So what's the name of the company?
Well, right now we're actually revamping it.
Okay, I got it.
And so we're going to go over some different things. And so the mental health side of it is legacy-driven life, and the other part of it is ChatFaster. And so because we want to make sure that people can chat faster and connect. But the biggest thing about legacy-driven life is being able to help people not only prevent, but be proactive on suicide by pouring into people, because that way they can chat faster with each other. Because that's the whole point of being able to connect with people, not for the technology to replace social engagement, but to support it.
What are those things you actually may do to help you stay out of it? Because we can't stop the birds from flying,
right?
But we can stop it from nesting. So what are those steps you may do, disciplines that you do to make sure you stay away from that?
Man, journaling is one that is top notch. Like journaling, I'll have those people on speed dial that I can call. Yeah, if my mind is like, because I'm ENTJ, and so my mind's racing nonstop all the time.
What's the ENT what?
ENTJ is like a personality type on 16 personalities. So I'm a guy, I'm a maverick, pioneer. Like I want to get stuff done. This is the vision. Let's get it going. And I know how to be able to bring people together and plug them in like that circuit board.
Right, we got it. Back in the day.
Yeah. And so being able to plug people in, that's my superpower. But also I have that techie side of me that I love coding bots, where it allows, because the mindset goes into being able to say, look, this is your daily processes. These are the things that are happening. Okay, so let's look at where you're spending time right here. Let's look at this right here. Do you not want to spend that with your wife?
And, I like the idea of letting the robot just do it, though.
Yeah.
But give it the idea and the thoughts to say, I'm not worried about it. And if it messes up or not do it, I told it what to do,
right.
And I don't have to worry about it doing anything else but doing that.
Right.
And I can move on and do this, or I can do that.
And that's the best thing about it, being able to free up that time slot, even if it's 30 minutes. Like, I mean, heck, even if it's an hour a day.
I mean, like doing a post, like a social media post on all media platforms, it can do that for you compared to me spending a lot of time.
Right, well, you can do that. There's other tools that can do that, but the more practical side of it is being able to say pre-qualified people. Like if you're trying to book people on a podcast, like ask them these different questions, but they go through that for you, and all of that's done over into a Google spreadsheet or into your CRM or your whatever you're housing it in, without even you having to blink.
26 and a half, no educational background, GED.
Good enough degree.
How did you get to how did you get to this point? I mean, that shows the creativity, the idea, the mindset to tell people you don't have to always do the traditional way of doing it, because everyone's path is not the same.
Right, absolutely not.
So like I've even changed the whole idea of telling people you need to go to school, like you have to go to college, right? Because all the time it's just a point of debt you done created, right? To do a dream and go after something that you're probably not even going to pursue. Yeah.
Well, that's the kicker. Is like, I mean, there are different. I mean, be very clear. There are different things that you go to college. Like, I want to go to. I want the doctor. I don't want the doctor to say, "Hey, I dropped out," but I know what I'm doing. No, but I watch a webinar though, so I'm good.
What's that commercial when the guy said, I stayed at the Holiday Inn Express. He walked in, he's about to do surgery, said, "What are you doing here?" So I stayed at the Holiday Inn Express. He's like, okay, so you better operate. So, I mean, it's just
Well, it's even like the State Farm commercial when the guy's like, yeah, I'm like an internet millionaire, and I have like a Ferrari and everything.
Yeah.
She's like, the guy's like, her brother's asking her this, and he's like, who told you this? Internet.
There you go.
You know, it's just like, but where'd you get all this information? Oh, the internet. Yeah, and
but they tell you the last thing you want to do is go to the internet. If you're feeling sick, don't go to the internet because you diagnose yourself. You know, and I'm the worst at that. I don't even if my
well, the thing
hurting,
is, a lot of the symptoms are so vague that you just feel like you automatically it is a placebo self-diagnosis is what it is. And it's just something that when you no matter the power of believing, it is so powerful, and the pharmaceutical industry understand that. And so it's like, let's do enough vague stuff that where you can, if you can sell yourself subliminally on that, that's their marketing. It is attraction marketing. It is content strategy 101.
Isn't that sad though?
Well, and the kicker too is that on their commercials, like, hey, you may die and one of your breasts may fall off in 2 weeks, but understand that you'll sleep better.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
Like, hey, your ear may fall off and your lip may become like upside down, but it's like, it's okay. You may have permanent duck lips, but hey, it's okay. You will sleep better.
You can take a great selfie.
Right.
With the duck lips.
It's just dumb, man.
Yeah.
So it's
but so the fact is that, so what would you tell someone, you've been young, you went through all this tragic things, you had to come out of it, you came out of it, you become successful coming out of it.
Right.
But what does success mean to you?
Man, the success means to me is that when you're enjoying yourself. Yeah, because when you are inside of joy, that's what the word enjoy means, to be inside of.
Okay.
And like that prefix to be inside of and then look at joy. Because when you're walking your purpose, when you're walking in what you're supposed to be doing, it's something that is contagious. That is the true root of it. Because if you're not enjoying yourself, regardless of what it is, like find a way to enjoy it. That's where the systems come into play. That's where all the other stuff comes into play. The community, being able to reach out to somebody and give them a hug, and it's just something that, like that bear hug,
Now, can you feel the contagiousness through this? I mean, that's the truth. I mean, it's really, when you have this attitude, so because success is all relative to the person.
Absolutely.
So you didn't mention anything about, I want to make $1 million. If I make enough money to be comfortable,
that's a step.
That's a step of, that's a piece of, look, in order to, when you have funds, believe me, you be more comfortable.
Oh, everything's funny when you're making money.
Yeah, exactly. Everything's a laugh, but in regards to what gives you, but it's people we know that's successful, wealthy wise, and they probably the most miserable people on the planet.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the thing is, it's not even about the dollar. Yeah, that's the complete different focus. That's why I bring it up to be able to enjoy yourself. Yeah, it's not about a financial status, because look at Andy Bourdain, look at everyone else. Kate Spade, look at what happened with them. Because when you're able to have financial status without joy, so it's like taking it back to systems, and so like when it comes to the chatbot part of it, well, I want to be able to have systems in place that meet your personal boundaries. That's the whole point of it. Because without personal boundaries and systems, you become legalistic. You become like just bound by them. They become shackles. Personal boundaries without logistics, you get burned out. So it's about balancing the two, but matching it where it's at, so that way you can go and sustain and grow and go and grow and go. But that's why it's being able to find out what you enjoy. Like what do you want to enjoy the most? Like what is keeping you back from that? I think going back to that reverse engineering it, working backwards, and then finally getting that up to where it is up to par. Because like you look at the money, you look at all these things. I mean, I'm 26 now. There are some incredible things happening in my own life that the $1 million is great and you can give back more, but what do you have to do to get to that? What's the process? Because if you're like, and it's the adventure, it's the exploration part of it. It's like a lot of people are like, well, I want to do all this, but the thing is, you're not even enjoying the journey. You're not even engaging, and that's the biggest concern when it comes to that focus. And I've been there. We've all been there. We want to be able to have that success. We want to be able to make sure that we can have the income, have the cash flow to do what's important, so that way we can do that. But what happens is the trick behind that, the snare, the trap behind that, is that when your focus is on the money and not the people, that's when things start to fail. And that's where your legacy is.
I like that right there. That's a good one. Right? Look, when your focus is on the money and not on people, you fail. But then all the times you
when you're focused on the money, you forfeit your legacy.
Yeah, but then also the people may not give you what you want because your focus may not be, because you're doing it for free at that point. Tell us about that.
Well, that's another thing. Free trial work.
Yeah.
Psych. Yeah. But like one of the biggest things is that even if you do happen to get a couple people through the door, what are you going to do next? It's like, where are you growing them to? Like, what is their essential? Like, how are you caring for them? Like, you are responsible for when they come through the door. Like, they're not a piggy bank. They're a beating heart. And you're doing this for a reason, to give them something. And if everything you said on your funnel, and everything you said on your chatbot, and everything you said in there is legit, then the money comes in, you shouldn't have an entrepreneurial seizure. You shouldn't be like, oh my God, you know, you need to, okay, holy crap, I have got a lot of responsibility to do. I'm not like, oh my gosh, like I really have got to pony up, because that is the responsibility of it. And that's why what a lot of people who think that getting to $1 million, whatever the case is, there are sacrifices that you have to do, that you have to grow. Like, you cannot get to a specific level because there's etiquette. You know, there's a way that you conduct yourself. You know, it's not, because that's why the money is not even close. Like, that is literally the last thing that ever happens. Like, I was sitting at a table just yesterday and with a client that's gonna spend 5 to 6 figures. But I was with him and his baby girls having coffee in a town that hardly anyone goes to. And what's beautiful is that after that meeting yesterday, I went to Nashville, just just cruise around and relax. And I ran into somebody that I have not seen in almost 4 to 5 months, just pulling into the parking lot. I started catching up with him. Turns out he's a partner in a major real estate firm now. And I'm just like, what are the odds?
Getting engaged.
Yeah, being engaged.
In the moment.
In the moment.
Wow.
Because of the systems and the technology that allows me to do that. And so it's now just a matter of, it's where being able to have the technology that supports your personal boundaries, your standards. Because that way it's not something that, is contradictory to it, because we waste so much time on technology because of the distractions. I mean, being a marketer, you want to fight for that attention, but what are you doing with that attention? We always talk about with Gary Vee and everyone, he's like, you know, attention is currency. Yeah, duh, but what are you doing with that? It's not just about the hustle. It's about the restoration part of it too. It's about living your life. And
it's funny how some of the things that you may see that become like viral, is the time when people don't even care. Like it's something that you were just having a conversation and it goes viral. And it's like, I didn't put nothing into it. I didn't do anything hard.
You're like, oh my gosh, it's actually happening.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, all the stuff you don't plan, the crazy titles you may put to say, look at me. And that's the one that doesn't make it. And the one that make it is the one that's like real
completely
genuine. Casual,
and you're like, and it's like for the ladies that'll be watching this, so like they don't even have their face put on.
Yeah,
they're like, I don't understand what's going on. Like, I just nuts about it. It's like that's of all the videos that I wanted to go viral. Why did that one have to go viral?
Exactly.
You know,
because you done painted your face up and everything.
Oh yeah.
When you done. I mean, so it's funny.
What's authenticity is a magnet.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of times that it's all about being consistent in your content and reaching out to people, because if you're able to connect with people, and you never know what people are going through. You never know it
at all.
And it's like we have this fear of like wanting to have a viral video, wanting to be able to connect and, you know, get out there as much as people as fast as possible, but that we completely short circuit our engagement. It's one of those things that if it contradicts the fundamental staples of your foundation, then it's a point where you have to say no. Because it's great to have virality, but I can stuff on LinkedIn when I do an organic post. You Google my name though, there's not another Jeremy Wenger that's gonna get to the top. But also I can guarantee you that from a phone call like this right here, like I didn't need to put out a Facebook ad to you.
None. So so what would you say from suicidal to, I believe, successful entrepreneur and even more successful individual? I really believe in you and you're gonna get there. You know, because you're all about helping the people. You just inspired me, what you just said about when you try. I've been here and been there, where you think the money, I'm just gonna chase this money because I can get this much, and you see someone else where they're getting this, and then everything is still in.
It's a transactional relationship. We're not prostitutes.
Right. So it's like everything in disarray. But then when you actually start to do something that's edifying and inspiring.
That should be a good post, from prostitute to pioneer.
Oh, that'd be neat, huh?
Yeah, I mean, we think about it.
Because in a sense, we all in a sense could be like prostitution because we out there working to get paid.
Exactly. Well, it's not even. It's more so your motive. You know, it's like if you're money minded, then it's a transactional relationship, and people aren't a prostitute. You know, but then we go to pioneer. because then you're pioneering, you're blazing the trails, and that where people that come behind you can walk down those steps, and that's where the systems and the organization and the duplication, the discipleship, and everything comes, the mentoring and the coaching. Yeah, so that way.
Man, you got to quit doing this, man. You can't keep inspiring me like that. So what would you tell them as we get ready to get off here, coming from where you were at to where you're going now? What would you inspire someone? What would you tell an individual maybe going through? I've had emails and messages sent to me about, hey, this is where I'm at. That conversation, I was the guy on the other side of that phone, like you called your friend and said, I'm about to do this. And they told you that. What would you tell that individual maybe going through something right now?
Man, I would start journaling. I would get out a journal. I don't know if you have one that you enjoy, regardless of if it's something that you can write down. And if you haven't started doing it, I don't care. You don't need to get logical on this. Yeah. You just let your emotions steer the writing. Because eventually, if you don't have if you need to get a journal, if you don't have one already, but get one that the texture of it is the same as the books that when you're leisure reading. And then your favorite color. And then also, what was the paper like? Is it like a rice paper, or is it something that just
getting deep in? Is it a Bible type paper? Ain't that rice paper or something?
I don't know. Okay, yeah. It's just regardless of what it is. Like even if it's a vintage thing. Like I was on the phone call with a buddy of mine yesterday. His favorite color is like this color blue you have on. And he said that. I said, okay, so when you get books from the store, what do you buy? And he's like, well, they're hardbound and everything. And he's very logical, and I was like, but is that professional personal development or is that leisure reading? And then he said, no, it's paperback whenever it's leisure reading. So what happens is psychologically, when you get the texture of what you do for leisure reading, the journaling starts to happen and it starts to flow out because you'd like to be seen in public with the journal, but no one else is going to see except you're in yourself. And that's one of the greatest things, is that let your emotions steer the writing on it. And so this way, I don't care if you rip the paper in half or how hard you indent that thing in there. I don't care if you draw while you're writing. If thoughts come across and you see something that comes across and you just write. I don't care if one thought interrupts the other. You go ... and you just keep on writing. Because one of the most important things is that you're able to just to dump this out and feel okay. You're done. You're not ashamed. Don't need to be ashamed for your emotions. You don't need to feel like you need to hold them back because of some stigma that you put out there. Like it doesn't matter. Like we are all in this together, and also just remember that you're not alone. If you're going through something, I promise you that when you dump it out and then you call someone to vent, you're gonna have a different pair of eyes and you're gonna make a lot more progress. And because what happens is you're able to document all the stuff, and that's just the rawness, and that's the real, instead of it being some elegant article on LinkedIn. Now this is the raw, fugly stuff that happens, that when it becomes freaking ugly, inside you got to get this out, get the rage out, get the shame, get the embarrassment, just get the depression out, and get all of that out. And then when you're able to journal and have something that you don't mind people seeing you with, you can pull that thing out and just start writing. And you get it out of your head and you translate it out and you see it with a whole different pair of eyes, and then you can start to make a call to vent and talk and to use that, because that way you're not doing a toxic dump. I mean, sometimes you need to just vent and have someone that can handle that, but it's very important to have someone that has that emotional bandwidth and that mental bandwidth that can take that on, because of systems and stuff that they put in their own life. And so that's how being able to journal allows you to not only write out your legacy, because that's your heart. It also gives you a whole other platform, and it also helps you to walk through that process. Because here's the thing, you can vent all day long to people, but when they're asleep and your mind's racing 180 miles a minute, it's either sometimes life or death when you journal. Yeah. Because if you can't get that out of your head, you can talk to as many people as you want to, it won't do any good. Until you get it out of your head, whether it's drawing, whether it's journaling, whatever the case may be. And it's something that, to get that out of your head, that's also gonna not only help you look at it from a different pair of eyes, but also to be able to have that and go back to it and be an encouragement or laugh at it too. You're like, oh my gosh. Yeah,
oh God. Listen, I think it's like when people do music.
No, absolutely.
They write music out, they do that, and that's why sometimes you
that's the thing. I'll go write poems or whatever. I'll start singing in like old jazz blues music, whatever, and just get it out.
Yeah, okay. Get that out. Journal, coping, and surround yourself with the right people. So Jeremy, I thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Absolutely, man.
Jeremy Wenger.
Yes, Wenger. Remember.
Like a bird. Look,
Like
I
eagle.
mean, look, be on the lookout for this individual, man. Be on the lookout for what he's going to be doing. We're going to be partnered up on some things and want to really see his dream come to fruition and see the AI,
Yeah.
with the mental thing, with the human capacity, but still keep it together where there's not a disengagement. Mental health. What'd I say?
I was just.
Okay, but
loud.
a disengagement is not that. You still can be engaged and let other things do what it needs to do, processes. You know, but stay strong, man.
Hey.
I appreciate all you do.
Thanks for having me
and I
on,
appreciate
man.
you actually coming by and actually sharing that with us. Remember, the true outcome of having a mindset of successful thinking is having an unwavering expectation of successfully achieving a predetermined goal, knowing that the outcome was supposed to happen. Change someone's life today, but most of all, make sure you do one thing, and that's to change yourself first. Change yourself. You know, and that comes around after you make the decision that you can surround yourself with the right people.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
So y'all be good, man. Thanks for joining Most Moto.
See you guys.